Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley. And today we're going to dive into AI, technology, and franchising. I have two very important guests with me. First up is Tracy Rickman. She is the President and COO of Qualifyi. And we're going to dig into Qualifyi and what it's about and how it's going to reshape the franchise industry. And I also have alongside her is Jania Baily. She is a CFE and the CEO of FranNet. And so we're going to talk together about how FranNet and Qualifyi are going to work together and how this AI technology is really going to reshape things. We all know it's going to reshape things. The question is how and when and where, and this is what this show is going to be about. So let's start with you, Tracy. I'm going to give you an easy one, maybe a longer answer. So tell us a little bit about Qualifyi, your partnership with FranNet, and the mission that you guys have to sort of change things here in the franchise industry.
So I guess Qualifyi starts as an intelligent product for the franchising industry. We're using AI in a couple different ways, but I would be remiss if I didn't start with saying that we started with FranNet. We took FranNet's 35 plus year history, and we used those metrics, that data, that information to incorporate in our AI to make our AI as powerful as it is. So we're doing a couple of different things. We're starting with something like an intelligent territory checker that franchisors, brokers, and even consumers can use to get an immediate territory check. Immediate. It can also provide customized information for franchisors who have resales or hard markets or act as a lead generation tool. We've created widgets. We can private label it. We've done a lot of things that make it useful to the franchise industry, however they want to use it. We've also then developed an intelligent behavioral-based nurturing campaign for prospects. And what I mean by that, is behavioral-based of the prospect. What are they doing when they get that email? Are they opening that email? Are they reading it? Are they clicking? Are they going back to one email over and over? And whatever they're doing, their journey changes. So up until now, nurturing campaigns have been very linear. Ours is really focused on what's going on with the prospect and what they're doing. And I'll give you a little bit of a stat. We've been very successful with our FranNet brokers as we were testing this. We downloaded 6.8 million emails from FranConnect that they had sent to say, who's doing it successfully? And what we found out was nobody. So we went to work and we created this, and we just opened it up to the market. And in December, Benetrend sent us some leads, and we have been marketing them through the nurturing campaigns back to them, and then to the product I'll tell you about next, which is My Qualifyi Match, our AI tool. But what's been happening with this nurturing campaign that Benetrend sent us is they've already got clients re-engaged with them. We have clients that have gone through and are re-engaged and ready to go to Discovery Day with franchisors. So from December, and they're already engaged. And I just found out at the IFA conference that the leads that they sent us were 7 years old. So think about that.
All of them were that old.
All of them were 7 years old. And I was blown away. I've been blown away by what our team has been able to accomplish, but blown away to know that not only did they get people re-engaged right away, but they got people who were 7 years old re-engaged.
Talking about ROI, right?
Exactly.
Talking about reclaiming some money from old marketing spend.
Exactly. So they're so happy, obviously, ecstatic at those kind of results. And they already told me this morning that they're going to be sending us some more. So we're very happy about that. And then what we've created, the really interesting AI product, is this My Qualifyi Match. So if you go to a website, it's called My Qualifyi. And it's really focused on the prospect, giving them the ability to work at their own pace. And we know from looking at sites like Zillow and Carvana, when people go to make a large purchase, they spend about 70% of their time investigating before they ever reach out to a franchisor or a broker. So we have created this area where they can go in and learn on their own. So if you go into my Qualifyi, you'll see 3 different bots. We have one that's about education. It starts with a guided education around the myths of franchising, but then they can ask any question they want and they can come back as many times as they want. So, questions that prospects have. What's an FDD? What's an item 19? Do I sign that receipt that I got it? Does that tie me into anything? Do I need an attorney? Anything. They can ask those questions and get an immediate answer. And this is not a frequently asked question. This is true AI answering their question as they ask it. Once they go through that, if they're ready, we have another one that will let them go through and pre-qualify themselves. So, am I even somebody that could afford a business, or should I be in franchising? So we're pre-qualifying them. But the neat thing about that, because of our history with FranNet, we've been able to use our metrics and analytics to actually be able to score the lead. So not only are they qualified to talk to you, but what is their likelihood to buy a franchise? And then we have the last one, which is what we call the match. And they can go through just like they were working with a franchise consultant, ask questions, build a model, have a business model. We will profile them. We'll know their NLP and then match them to franchises. And through that intelligence, we're actually able to talk to them the same way a franchise consultant would. Here's why you should look at franchise ABC. And if all 3 of us had done it, there'd be different reasons why we would be matched with a franchise. Anywhere through the process, the prospect decides they want to talk to a human, they can off-ramp and talk to a FranNet broker. I know that was a lot, trying to throw everything into one basket. What questions do you have, Rob?
No. It was a good overview. I will try to break it down now. I like to unpack sometimes. And in this case with AI, I think we all need the unpacking forever, probably for a little bit longer anyway, a few more years of trying to figure all this out, right? But the first question I have is I'm going to point it to the franchisors first. Because the idea of reclaiming leads, recycling leads, not reclaiming, but recycling or reactivating is probably the best word. I think that's huge. I mean, massively huge, because we know one of the biggest problems with lead generation in any industry is connection rate. It's how many times do I get a hold of someone to actually have a shot to do something? And most people are pretty good if they can get a hold of people, but getting a hold of people is hard with inbound leads. And franchising inbound leads is a big part of it. And so a lot of times you just don't get a hold of people, right? They're busy, they go on with their life. And you have these leads of emails and names of people that have been interested in franchises. And that list builds and builds and builds over time. And like you said earlier, as old as 7 years. Wow, like that's pretty cool. I have a big list for you, by the way. I have a client with
love it. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, but we don't get a hold of, like, I know some of my clients, like, we look at those metrics, it's 31%, it could be as high as 30+%, right? Of not getting a hold of a lead. So being able to reactivate leads is huge. So tell me a little bit, let's unpack that a little. So when we take a database, tell us a little bit about the flow of that. Are we uploading a list? The AI executes an outbound email and then interacts, or is it SMS, or how does that actually work? And then when they're interacting, where does it lead to, like an appointment, or an email gets sent to someone saying, hey, this person is interested again? I break it down a little, because I think that is, like, it might be the simplest thing, but never could be done before, unless you could just hire 100 people and have more 24 hours, 7 days a week. So tell me more about that exact for the franchisor.
Okay, so I tell you, there's lots of options. So there are a lot of things in there that we can do. First off, we're going to take the leads however you have them. We've had people, download them into an Excel, give us a CSV file, whatever it is, we can work with it. So that's the ease of it. Send us the leads. We even have one person who's sending us the leads as they come in from a portal. So we're getting them one at a time. We'll work with it however you have them. The first thing that we're going to do then is we're going to create a campaign about the brand. right? So our goal is to kind of first nurture them back to the franchisor. By the way, if they do nurture them back to the franchisor and they buy that franchise, we don't want any payment. We're saying thank you. Just let us know so we can update our metrics. So it's a great way for a franchisor to kind of test our process and see how it works. Now, we can we're doing an email, we're doing a cadence, and the cadence again changes based on that behavior. But what we'll do is, again, work with the franchisor, create the content, put that together with what we know works and what we can show from our metrics, and then create that journey. And then that journey will change when we get people who don't engage, right? We're going to change the journey until they do engage. And that just continues on and continues forward. For the moment, we are nurturing back to the franchisor, whether they want it to go back to them, on a list. We have a portal that'll show them that. If they want it to go to Calendly, we're setting up that appointment right away. We're getting ready, actually right now. I think next week's to institute some SMS. But when you think about older leads, we don't always have phone numbers. We know that we have emails. So we'll be able to work with whatever that franchisor has. And then a lot of times, someone may have investigated a franchise because they thought that's what they wanted to do, and they learned a little bit. Maybe it wasn't right, or maybe they didn't learn enough, but they're afraid they're going to get sold to. And that's where my Qualifyi comes in. They can nurture to that educational portal. They can nurture to, qualification themselves and looking at matching and understanding that. So we'll nurture all the way through that to bring that education to the prospect wherever they are at their own pace. So when we hear speed to lead, we mean it. It's immediate. They can get in there and play with it and do what they want to do.
Yeah, no, that's critical. And everything we're talking about is a different way of living life, really. It's hard. It kind of zings past you. It's like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It's like, I'm waiting for what you're going to tell me. And it's like, I think it just went by me. It's so amazing. It's like hard to get your head around what you're saying, because again, this is done for them. It'll interact, it'll nurture. And again, you're doing a service to the industry is the way I see it. Because I thought of it as well. Like, there's a lot of people interested in starting businesses. Many times they stop their journey. It doesn't mean they're not a fit still at some point. And I feel like the recycling, right? The recycling of leads gives them the opportunity to kind of get re-engaged in a very helpful way, right, with your platform, because now they can get that help they need, maybe look at some other models, maybe go a different direction, but it helps everybody because they're a better qualified candidate for some brand. So if everybody's doing this, it'll help. I see it as helping the whole industry, right? Because franchisors want the best fit, right? We want the best fit. It's not like, you just want the next sale. You want the best partner and the best fit. So it really is best if someone decides in their own way, what to do, right? Through the guidance of the AI, and then go get routed back to the right brand, right? So if they're being re-engaged, reactivated for the whole industry almost, not just for one brand, because ultimately they'll learn in self-discovery if, what, maybe that brand isn't right for me, right? By interacting with your platform. So what you're saying is a brand can reactivate older leads, bring them into your platform if they want, for that person to be kind of acquainted, especially if it's a 7-year-old lead, reacquainted with franchising, and maybe go whatever path they need to go on from there. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, absolutely reading it right. And the key to it and what we're doing, and you said it, and I said it a couple of times this past weekend at IFA, the job is more leads for everybody, more deals for everybody. So your lead comes in and maybe it wasn't right for you and they buy another franchise, you're still going to get a payment. You're going to get something on that lead. So one of the franchisors we talked to kept saying, well, but wait, what? No, how much does that cost? How much does that cost? And when we explained it all, he goes, wait a minute. I'm actually going to make money on this deal. It's like, there's not vendors here to do that. I'm like, you could make your money back with one transaction. And he goes, you guys aren't thinking about this model right. I'm like, yes, we are. We're thinking about more deals, keep it in the franchise family, move everybody forward. That's the win-win.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's modern marketing. The the give first ideas of modern marketing, right? The last 20, 30 years has been about giving people value and then let them get used to the value. And then you got more for them and then they can become your client. But it really is giving first. And I feel like that's the priority here, right? It's just like, let's make sure there's a good fit happening. Let's give the person the resources on demand, like the Netflix culture we all have, right? So very cool, very cool. So tell me a little bit more about, tell this matchmaking process. I don't want to, again, I feel like that was a fastball. So the matchmaking process, you guys have like 30 years of data and you've learned for a very long time what's a great fit for somebody, why it's a great fit. It's not always a direct thing. Like, I used to be in restaurants, so now restaurant businesses are great for me. Like it's more than that, right? There's a lot that goes into it, profiling people, figuring out what helps them. How has AI changed the game here? You're able to pull all this data now, help train the AI to make it super intelligent across all these use cases. Tell us more about the matchmaking. Like, how does that help ensure the person really gets some really useful connections with the right brands?
Right. So, it kind of just starts with the whole meeting. So if you look at what a consultant does at FranNet, the client takes an assessment. We spend about 2 hours understanding you and building a business model and making recommendations. What happens with the AI, they don't have to take the assessment because we've trained the AI to profile them based on the words that they're using, the way they're communicating their goals. So the AI does the profile while they're answering the questions and building their business model. And that takes about 15 minutes for somebody who knows what they're doing. So the whole instant gratification is there. Then when we're doing the match, that goes back. You can't pay to be shown on my site. You don't pay to get more leads. It is truly about match. So it's very democratic and it's all based on the match scores we've been able to glean and analyze from FranNet's 35-year history. So we can score a lead. We understand how qualified they are. We can tell you whether or not we think they're going to buy, because we've all seen people who have money, the wherewithal, and the ability, but say no. And then we're going to give them a match score. And we can do all that through the AI in a very short period of time.
That's great. In a very short period of time, right? Amazing how much the AI can be aware of in a moment, right? Really ensuring that no matter where you're coming from, it'll have a really valuable answer for you. Tell us a little bit more about the franchisors. Let's go back over there. So we did talk about reactivating leads. Let's talk a little bit about the territory, the whole idea of territory matching, or the idea of, isn't that one of the biggest challenges for brands as they expand, is just getting to the people where they have availability, right? And for the people, it's like, if you don't have something here, why I don't want to talk to you, right? So like, why I need to know that, right? Tell us more about that instant gratification associated with that tool and how that works.
So just think about franchisors. I talked to an FSO recently that has 3 full-time people doing nothing but territory checks during the day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. That's all they do. That's a huge expense. What if you only needed maybe one of those people or half of those people to follow up on certain things and the rest could be retasked? When it comes from a broker point of view, because I've spent 16 years as a broker, there have been days where, man, this is the perfect franchise for this client, but the franchisor isn't getting back to me. And maybe, to be quite honest, there's another one that's perfect, but I'm already assuming that they're sold out. So I didn't even do a territory check. That happens a lot to the well-established brands. We assume they're sold out. So the beautiful thing about what we created with Territory Checker at territorychecker.com, we made it as simple as possible. They put their information in, they put in the franchise and the location, and they get the answer. And they get the answer instantaneously. We're talking about seconds here. The other nice thing is franchisors can load this with resales. Many times resales get overlooked, or hot markets that maybe they've given a discount to because they need a franchisor there. All of this can be programmed with the AI into the return into that same amount of time. So it's great for young brands because they can actually use it as lead generation. And the well-established brands can make sure that they're not forgotten. And we're going to save everyone time and man hours.
So in terms of exactly, so that there's two good reasons for franchisors, right, to think about how they can solve problems with AI. One is fast territory checks. The other is reactivating leads and speed to lead too. If you have fresh leads coming in, that speed to lead's important,
Right.
as well as the older leads that you can reactivate. So to me, these are clear solutions to problems that always existed, but we couldn't solve them before. So just going back to what I was saying in terms of there are two clear benefits to the franchisor. So I wanted to get back to now the AI does amazing things. It can engage, it can help, it helps people with on-demand information. But where is that off ramp? Because you're marrying the human element with AI. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that connection between the broker and when does that typically happen? When is that presented as an option in the process?
We're going to make it available to brokers. And most times they're going to do that before, right? They're going to territory check in their meeting preparation. But the beauty of this is because it's so simple, territorychecker.com. If during the meeting something comes up and they're like, oh, I didn't territory check in that concept, and they want to present it, they don't have to worry about sending an email and hoping they respond. They can go there and get that instant gratification. Now, this doesn't wipe out territory checks for all franchisors because there's always going to be some kind of question, right? Like, can you send me a map of what that looks like, or help me understand what part of the city is sold and what part is open? That'll continue. But this whole need for 3 people to do full-time territory checks, that goes away. Those people can be repurposed, focus on lead gen, something to help the system.
Well, that's as I said, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. And what are the best questions to ask somebody that's doing something that's never been done before? But ultimately, what I wanted to kind of get into is a little bit of forward thinking. So we're doing things very differently than you would typically find in most marketing funnels, right? Mm-hmm. How do you see this changing the marketing itself? Like, is there a different way to present a landing page? Is there a different way to kind of, engage the prospect when they first get introduced to the brand? And because in my feeling as a marketer, there is I feel like because you have the capability to engage quickly and be valuable in a different level, you can say different things. You can make different promises, right? Different calls to action. How do you see that as being a benefit to helping even the conversion rates and the quality of leads and everything else?
Well, because we can score, right? Because we can score. And this isn't an arbitrary, hey, they have enough money and they're located and they're motivated, right? We can actually score them. Because we can do that, we can help a franchisor who has 7-year-old leads find the diamonds that are in their database. We talk about that all the time when we at FranNet, oh my gosh, this person's been in my database for 7 years and they re-engaged. Yay, there's deals in there. That's the first thing you have to know is whatever you have, there's deals in there. And a lot of times it's just meeting that client where they are, right? Giving them that ability to warm themselves up. They can do that. They can do that on their own. You don't have to spend the money, make lots of calls, send them free things. They will warm themselves up as they educate. So that's the first part. But then as you kind of go through with lead gen, it really spins what's going on and changes it. There is really no box around us yet. We've talked to franchisors or family brands and FSOs about white labeling My Qualifyi Match just for their brands. So think about large FSOs or think about Neighborly, right? They've got brands that are sold out, but other brands in the same city that are open. They can use Territory Checker to client facing, consumer facing. They say is available. And they're like, no, but all of these brands are. So give them more opportunity to engage and then go in and do some education. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen with AI. Do I fully believe people are going to copy what we're doing? Do I believe they're doing it right now and looking? Yes. But the key is no one has the history that FranNet has. They can't do it. So they can look alike, but no one's going to have the analytics and the metrics behind it driving the AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I would say that is sort of the future, even though it's moving quickly. Like when I'm talking about AI technology or a product like yours, what I'm looking for is why is it unique? What's behind the AI? And AIs that have custom data, all those years of human interaction, companies that did a good job at with their databases and learnings and getting better and improving. If they documented that well, their AI is that much better. And that's the business you're in. You're in that business. I thought that was part of like the solutions you provide for people and for franchisors. And so you have that. I totally agree with that point in terms of the technology. The technology needs the data. Like you can't, like it has general knowledge, yes, and it's very good, but without that specific data, it's not going to be the same. So I wanted to make that very clear. So with what we're working with here. So tell me a little bit about the future. Like, what do you think? And I know you guys probably get excited like me about roadmaps and where's this going to go, but is there something you see like maybe within the next 12 months that you're really, or even sooner, that with your platform, you just like, I just can't wait till we put that in there? Is there anything like that? Like I'm thinking of voice or any type of actions through AI with voice or something like that.
Yeah, no, well, actually, AI already works with voice. So if you'd rather talk to the AI, you can. Personally, I think it's a little creepy, but that exists. That exists right now today on our website. Where do I think this is going to take us? I got the crystal ball, and I'm glad I'm not in the same room with Jana when I say this, but there are so many things that can happen with forward-thinking franchisors, right? So if you take what we have with lead scoring and you know that we have a match score and we're creating lead gen, our own lead gen, okay, now we know who to profile for certain types of franchises. So you don't just go to a portal and buy leads anymore. You can come to us and you can buy leads of people we know fit your type of franchise, and then they're buying. If we take all of these leads, like Ben Trent's 7-year-old leads, we can create a lead exchange. We can create a place where people can take the funds they've already spent and get value out of them 7+ years later. And we can do that in a world where we all win. And that's really what we're striving for. And that's what I see in the next year alone at Qualifyi. And I won't even show you the whiteboard with what comes after that. But there's a lot of things there that we're working at. And we're working on it in a way to keep it in the family and make everybody win.
Yeah. So can I let me just summarize what the feedback, because again, I feel like that's what I was hitting on earlier is that, okay, so Ben and Trent just as the example, right? Yeah. If I'm Ben and Trent and I give you a list, let's say it's my 7-year ago leads. I got 6-year ago, 5-year ago, but I'm going to give you that year. So looking forward, thinking what you were just saying, is it that we all can participate in sharing our old leads and then re-engaging these folks in the world that thought about franchising? Maybe they didn't do anything. Yeah. Re-engaging, giving them this new value, right? This interactive value. And then through that process, rerouting them to a new opportunity. And if I'm Ben and Trent and I shared my database and that gets rerouted to someone else for the good of everybody, how does that work? Is it that Ben and Trent figures, hey, it's great if someone rebounds back to us, great. If not, great. Is that the idea? Or is there something else you plan on, another partnership with the franchisor? Or the person, like, how do you see that working?
I see it working for everyone. So if that franchise or that prospect goes and buys another franchise, right, there's a commission sitting there, and that commission gets split up among the parties that were there. So the new franchisee gets a franchisee that is fitted for them, that we can tell them is fitted for them. So hopefully we're also going to say has a much higher success rate. And I can say that because franchisors have told us over the years that they get the best clients, the best top performers from FranNetters. We took that and put it into our AI. So somebody's going to have that. They're going to have that great franchisee. They're going to pay that commission happily, right? We're going to take that commission and give some of it back to whoever originated the lead. So they're going to recoup the cost. If there was a broker involved, they're going to get some of that. And at Qualifyi, we're going to use that to continue improving the systems and continuing offering opportunities. But it's a very unusual way to think about the market. It's something that's really focused on the intelligence of the AI and the intelligence driven by what we've done and done really well at FranNet for 30+ years.
No, it's very different, but very smart. And I think it couldn't be done without AI's assistance, right?
Right.
But we all know in franchising that if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit, right? It'd be better to just get the right fit, much more lucrative win that way. So it's counterintuitive to think if I send a lead through a system, it may go somewhere else. But hey, if there's remuneration, then everybody wins.
Everyone wins. And that's
And
what
we
I
don't lose, and we get to recycle that huge list of emails that we have. So I think it's a great idea.
And Rob, it was interesting at the IFA. There was a lot of discussion about smarter franchising, doing things better, more integrity in franchising, being sure that we're doing things the right way for our clients. And like Tracy said, the beauty of this, my Qualifyi product, is you can't offer it a bonus and sway it. It doesn't matter the commission amounts, because this is going to be totally, information driven. It's not driven by a fee or a bonus fee or a trip somewhere. This is the most, what am I trying to say, Tracy? It's overall going to be the most honest and clear cut paths. Now, I would say my people do an amazing job of traveling that high integrity road. We screened for that. But at the same time, are there, if there's 3 brands just alike and there's a little bit of difference in the fees, could that be an influence? I'd like to think not, but I'm sure it could.
Yeah.
My Qualifyi doesn't care. It's going to go for the absolute best match.
It makes me laugh because I think of all the times I tell my kids, do the math. I just say, do the numbers. Like, the numbers don't lie. If you can learn basic arithmetic, you probably will save yourself a lot of headaches. But like, an AI is very mathematical. It's very much, this is what the numbers are telling us, and very accurate. I think we're all starting to feel that. I know if any of us use, obviously, YouTube or any social media or anything, or Netflix, I think I might have mentioned earlier, it recommends, right? And how good is it? Like, it's pretty darn good, isn't it?
It does. It learns us and what we like. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a similar type of technology. More, I know you're factoring lots of data points and lots of information and looking at everything that this candidate might be about, plus their inputs. So it's, and again, matching it to that huge database of situations that you guys have been through. To really say, yep, you're like that number 322 million person that we placed 3 years ago, right? You're more like you. But anyway, so that's really cool stuff. So, okay, AI, IFA just passed us. What advice would you have for franchisors? I was trying to break it down into some clear problems that can be solved with your tool. And I know you guys go through this thinking, okay, what do we need to focus on? You guys have obviously did a marvelous job here, by the way, with what you built with Qualifyi. But as leaders, as executives, you thought about it before you went down that road, and you were thinking about problems to solve and things that would benefit your audiences. What advice would you have for franchisors right now? And I'm sure some of it, obviously say, well, you should use our tools, right? Of course. All right. But like, is there like this daunting idea of how do we incorporate AI into our business? How do we do something innovative like what you guys have done? What advice would you share? And or if you have advice for a franchise seeker, someone looking into the business, maybe if you want to do one of each, if one of you take one, Jana, you could take one, and Tracy, you could take the other if you'd like.
First thing I would say when it comes to franchisors and coming out of IFA, there are a lot of marketing companies who say we're using AI to write a customized email. Let me tell you that that's not what we're doing. It's not that simple. So I would highly recommend take 30 minutes and do a demo. Let us show you the back-end portals to show you where all your leads are. And there are always going to be leads that need to be called. We can show you that too. So I would say the first thing is let us show you. And then realize that we're not using that to sell you. We literally you're going to make more money with us than you spend. Our territory checker is all encompassing. Territory checker, nurturing, my Qualifyi match, all in one monthly price, not a contract. Just a monthly subscription. You want to quit in 3 months? You can quit in 3 months. So we're really, really, really are using the same integrity that Jana talks about and preaches all the time to us, that we want you to work with us so we can all get more deals and work better together.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll raise my hand. We had a similar objective with what you're talking about, with this idea of recycling the industry's leads.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it really is, as much as everybody wins, it really is truly like it's a win-win-win. It doesn't, it's not like a traditional situation. I don't see a lot of risk. I see only upside. As you said, it won't take long to see the demo. That's, yeah, and it's real problems being solved. So Jana, what do you think? What's your input either way, advice to either audience? What do you think?
Well, I think from the standpoint of if I was a candidate, and I was looking, I think of this. And when we actually first put this on a strategy board 10 years ago, and we're thinking, our whole comment was, what's going to be the Zillow in our industry? What's going to be the Uber that disrupts the industry? And we knew it would be something with technology. But when you think about, my generation still wants to talk to people as quickly as possible. But my grandson, that's 25, he wants to do all the research he can on his own. And he actually is very put out when he finally has to talk to somebody. So, that's what we're trying to do, is bridge that gap, because FranNet has always been that local, trusted franchise expert. That was our tagline for many, many years. And of course, now we're not as focused just on being local, but more your trusted franchise expert. So we still love that one-on-one connection we can have with our clients, but we recognize not all of our clients want that right away. They don't want to be sold or feel like they're talking to a salesperson. My Qualifyi gives them the opportunity to do as much as they feel comfortable doing until, like when I got ready to buy my house, I did a lot of research, and then I said, now I need a realtor to help me. Now you can say, I'm ready to talk to a broker. I've got all this information, and now I need that expert to help me these final steps. Whichever way it is, there's no pressure here. We want to reach the candidates wherever they may be, in whatever way is most comfortable for them.
Well, I think you pretty much nailed modern marketing. As I said, it's just whether you can get it done or not get it done. What you're describing is the way the big boys do it. It's the way we're using Google and Facebook and these other platforms, and it's what they've been doing for 20 some years. It's sort of how they built their businesses, and it's amazing to see, but I think it's an amazing product, amazing platform. The idea is all wrapped up into one. I can't think of any candidate right now, if you're listening, that shouldn't go over there and check it out, or a franchisor, or you need a demo, because you'll be really losing money every day that you don't take advantage of some of these things. I mean, I mean that, and I don't mean that just about this product. I mean that about AI. I mean, we have to take swift action if we want to be competitive. We have to find ways to solve problems nowadays that couldn't be solved before, and this is one of those ways for franchises, anyway. So before I totally let you guys go, what is the best way people could reach out to you? Where do they go? If you're a franchisor, or if you're not a franchisor, what's the best way to find Qualifyi?
You can just find us online. It's Qualifyi, Qualifyi, with an I at the end. So Qualifyi with an I at the end.com. That's where you can find us. They can email me at tracy@qualifyi.com. On the consumer side, the product is My Qualifyi, again, with an I at the end.
My Qualifyi with an I at the end.com.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very good tool. So they can just go to that. If I was interested in a franchise, I could go over there and just start talking, and it's going to guide me through.
Yeah.
And literally give me some really, really good and important information. I can't think of a quicker, easier, more impactful way to get franchise information after 20 some years of doing it, right?
Right.
So, yeah, no, it's great. So I highly encourage you. It's been great having you guys on the show today. I want to have you back in a period of time. Well, not much time will have to go by for some really cool new things to be happening, right?
It's
so
true.
Let's definitely have you back for some updates on the roadmap and some success stories.
Thanks, Rob. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to be with you and tell you about our new baby.
All right, you got it. You got it. It's great to have you.